I've been thinking about something lately. Actually, it's been on my mind for years. Why do some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others, equally smart, equally hardworking, struggle their entire lives just to get by? I used to think it was about luck. Maybe it was about connections. Hell, maybe it was just about being born into the right family. But after years of studying the wealthy, interviewing millionaires and billionaires, and watching patterns emerge over and over again, I realized something profound. It's not about what they do differently. It's about how they think differently. See, the wealthy don't have some secret playbook that the rest of us don't have access to. They don't have magical powers or insider information that makes them special. What they have is a completely different operating system running in their mind. And here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. These thought patterns, these mental frameworks, they're learnable. They're teachable. And in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly how the rich think differently, and more importantly, how you can start thinking the same way. Because here's what I believe. Your current financial situation isn't a reflection of your worth, your intelligence, or your potential. It's a reflection of your programming. And today we're going to reprogram that software. Let's dive in. The first major difference I want to talk about is something psychologists call the abundance mindset versus the scarcity mindset. And this is huge. This is the foundation everything else is built on. Most people operate from scarcity. They think there's only so much money to go around. They think that if someone else gets rich, that means there's less for them. They think in terms of limitations, restrictions, and not enough. The rich think in terms of abundance. They believe there's more than enough money, more than enough opportunity, more than enough success for everyone. And this isn't just some feel-good philosophy. This mindset literally changes how they see and interact with the world. Let me tell you a story. I once interviewed a real estate mogul who started with nothing. Absolutely nothing. When he was looking at his first property deal, his friends told him he was crazy. There's no money in real estate anymore, they said. All the good deals are taken. But here's what he told me. Alfonso, while they were focused on why it wouldn't work, I was focused on how it could work. While they saw obstacles, I saw opportunities. Same market, same conditions, completely different lens. This is what I mean by abundance thinking. When you believe there's enough for everyone, you stop competing and start creating. You stop hoarding and start sharing. You stop defending and start expanding. Rich people understand three fundamental truths that most people miss. First, money is not finite. It's created every day through value creation, innovation, and exchange. The pie isn't fixed. It's constantly growing. Second, other people's success doesn't diminish your potential. In fact, it often enhances it. Rich people celebrate other rich people because they understand that success breeds success. Third, opportunities are everywhere, but you can only see them when you're looking for them instead of looking for reasons why things won't work. Now, I want you to think about your own mindset for a moment. When you hear about someone making a lot of money, what's your first reaction? Are you inspired or are you suspicious? Are you curious about how they did it? Or are you looking for reasons why they don't deserve it? Be honest with yourself, because this reaction tells you everything about your current programming. The wealthy don't waste time being jealous or resentful of other people's success. They study it. They learn from it. They model it. Because they understand that if someone else can do it, so can they. Now, here's the second major difference, and this one is absolutely critical. The rich think in decades, not days. They think in years, not months. They play the long game, while most people are obsessing over the short game. Most people are playing checkers. The rich are playing chess. Same board, completely different strategy. Let me break this down for you because this is where most people get it wrong. The average person makes decisions based on immediate gratification. They want results now. They want the payoff today. They see an investment opportunity and ask, how much will I make this month? The wealthy ask completely different questions. They ask, how much will this be worth in 10 years? What's the compound effect of this decision? What am I building for the long term? I remember talking to a woman who built a multi-million-dollar business. She told me about the early days when she was reinvesting every penny back into her company, while her friends were buying new cars and taking expensive vacations. Alfonso, she said, they thought I was crazy. They thought I was depriving myself, but I wasn't depriving myself. I was paying my future self. That phrase stuck with me, paying your future self. See, most people are constantly borrowing from their future to pay for their present. They use credit cards for lifestyle purchases. They take out loans for cars they can't afford. They prioritize today's comfort over tomorrow's freedom. The rich do the opposite. They sacrifice today's comfort for tomorrow's freedom. They understand that every dollar invested today is multiple dollars in the future. They understand compound interest, not just as a mathematical concept, but as a life philosophy. Here's what's fascinating. The rich don't just apply this to money. They apply it to everything. Their health, their relationships, their skills, their networks. They're constantly investing in things that will pay dividends years down the road. They read books not for entertainment, but for education. They attend conferences not for the free food, but for the connections. They exercise not because they have to, but because they want to be healthy at 70, 80, 90 years old. So let me ask you this. What are you doing today that your future self will thank you for? What investments are you making in your tomorrow? Because here's the reality. Time is going to pass whether you invest in your future or not. 10 years from now, you're going to be 10 years older regardless. The only question is, will you be 10 years richer or 10 years broker? The wealthy understand that time is their greatest asset, not their enemy, and they use it accordingly. All right, here's where we get into the meat of it. This is probably the most important distinction between how the rich think and how everyone else thinks. And if you only remember one thing from this entire video, remember this. The middle class focuses on income. The wealthy focus on assets. Most people are trained from childhood to think about money in terms of income. Get a good job that pays well, negotiate a higher salary, find a career that makes good money. It's all about the paycheck. But here's what the rich understand that most people don't. Income is temporary, assets are permanent. Income stops when you stop working. Assets work for you even when you're sleeping. I had a conversation with a millionaire who used to be a high-paid doctor. He was making $300,000, 0 cents a year, living the dream, right? Wrong. He was broke. He had a big income, but no assets. He was trading time for money, and time was running out. One day he had a wake-up call. He realized that if he stopped working, the money stopped coming. He had golden handcuffs. He was trapped by his own high income. So he started thinking differently. Instead of just earning money, he started building assets. He bought rental properties. He invested in index funds. He started a side business. He built a portfolio of things that generated money without his direct involvement. Today, his assets generate more money than his medical practice ever did. And here's the kicker. He works when he wants to, not because he has to. This is the difference. The middle class works for money. The wealthy make money work for them. The rich understand several key principles about assets. First, assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out of your pocket. It's that simple. Your house that you live in, that's not an asset if it's costing you money every month. Your car, definitely not an asset. Your education, only if it's generating more income than it costs. Second, true wealth is measured by how long you can survive without working, not by how much you earn while working. If you make $100,000 0 cents a year, but spend $100,000 0 cents a year, you're not wealthy. You're just well paid. Third, assets compound. They grow exponentially, not linearly. One rental property can become 2, which can become 4, which can become 8. That's the power of asset building. Most people spend their entire lives building someone else's assets. They pay rent instead of buying. They buy things that depreciate instead of things that appreciate. They consume instead of create. The wealthy flip this script. They buy assets first, lifestyle second. They understand that assets buy freedom, and freedom is the ultimate luxury. So here's my challenge for you. Instead of asking, how can I make more money, start asking, how can I build more assets? Instead of focusing on your next raise, focus on your next investment. Instead of upgrading your lifestyle, upgrade your portfolio. Because income makes you comfortable, but assets make you free. Now here's something that absolutely blew my mind when I first realized it. The rich don't just think about making money, they think about solving problems. And the bigger the problem they solve, the more money they make. See, most people have this backwards. They think money comes first, then you figure out what to do with it. The wealthy think exactly opposite. They find problems first, then figure out how to solve them, and the money follows naturally. Think about every wealthy person you know or have heard of. What did they do? They solved problems. Bill Gates solved a problem of complex computing for everyday people. Oprah solved the problem of authentic, meaningful television. Elon Musk is solving the problems of sustainable transportation and space exploration. But here's what's beautiful about this. They didn't start with billion-dollar problems. They started with problems they could see, problems they understood, problems they were personally frustrated by. I remember talking to a guy who made millions with a simple app. You know what it did? It helped people find parking spaces in crowded cities. That's it. Simple problem, simple solution, massive value. The difference is in the mindset. When most people encounter a problem, they complain about it. They get frustrated. They accept it as just the way things are. But when the wealthy encounter a problem, they see opportunity. They see dollar signs. Every problem is a business opportunity in disguise. Every frustration is a potential revenue stream. Every inefficiency is a chance to create value. And here's the thing about value creation. It's scalable. When you solve a problem for one person and they pay you, that's a job. When you solve a problem for 1,000 people and they each pay you, that's a business. When you solve a problem for 1 million people and they each pay you, that's wealth. The rich understand this multiplication effect. They don't just trade time for money, they trade solutions for money. And solutions can be replicated, automated, and scaled. They also understand something called leverage. Instead of doing everything themselves, they build systems, hire people, use technology, and create processes that multiply their efforts. While the average person is focused on working harder, the wealthy are focused on working smarter. While the average person is focused on doing more, the wealthy are focused on creating more value. This is why education is so important to the wealthy, but not the kind of education most people think about. They're not just learning facts and figures. They're learning to see problems as opportunities. They're developing what I call opportunity vision. So let me ask you something. What problems do you encounter regularly in your life? What frustrates you about your industry, your community, your daily routine? What do you wish existed but doesn't? Those frustrations you're feeling, those are your million-dollar ideas waiting to be developed. The wealthy don't ignore problems, they embrace them because they know that's where the money is. Now let's talk about something that really separates the wealthy from everyone else, how they think about risk. Because most people have this completely backwards. The average person thinks the wealthy are bigger risk takers. They see entrepreneurs starting businesses, investors buying stocks, real estate moguls leveraging properties, and they think, wow, these people are gamblers. They're taking huge risks. But here's the truth. The wealthy are actually more risk averse than most people. They just define risk differently. Most people think the biggest risk is losing money. The wealthy think the biggest risk is not making money. Most people think the biggest risk is not making money. Most people think the biggest risk is not trying. I talked to a venture capitalist who told me something profound. He said, Alfonso, people think I'm taking big risks investing in startups. But you know what I think is risky? Having all your money in a savings account earning 1% while inflation is 3%, that's guaranteed loss. That's the real risk. The wealthy don't take reckless risks, they take calculated risks. They do their homework. They understand the downside. They have contingency plans. But they also understand that not taking any risks is the biggest risk of all. Here's how they think about risk differently. First, they separate good risk from bad risk. Good risk has unlimited upside with limited downside. Bad risk has limited upside with unlimited downside. They embrace good risk and avoid bad risk. Second, they understand that diversification reduces risk. They don't put all their eggs in one basket, but they also don't spread themselves so thin that nothing makes a meaningful impact. Third, they use what they call asymmetric risk situations where they can potentially make much more than they can lose. They're looking for investments where they might lose $1, 0 cents, but could make $10, 0 cents. Perhaps most importantly, they understand that the biggest risk in today's economy is depending on one source of income. Having a job, even a high-paying job, is actually incredibly risky because you have no control over it. The wealthy create multiple income streams. They diversify not just their investments, but their income sources. They understand that true security comes from having options, not from having guarantees. Most people are trading potential for security, and in today's world, that security is largely an illusion. The wealthy are trading short-term security for long-term freedom, and they sleep better at night because of it. So when you're evaluating opportunities, don't ask, what if I lose money? Ask, what if I don't take this opportunity? What will it cost me in the long run? Because the wealthy understand that the biggest risk is not the risk you take, it's the risk you don't take. So there you have it, 5 fundamental ways the rich think differently: abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset, long-term thinking versus short-term thinking, asset building versus income chasing, problem solving and value creation, and calculated risk taking. But here's what I want you to understand. None of this is about the money itself. The money is just a byproduct. It's about developing a mindset that sees opportunity where others see obstacles, solutions where others see problems, and possibilities where others see limitations. These aren't genetic traits. These aren't talents you're born with. These are learnable skills. These are teachable patterns. These are choices you can make starting today. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You don't have to wait for someone to hand you an opportunity. You can start thinking like the wealthy right now, today, with whatever resources you have. Start seeing problems as opportunities. Start thinking in years, not months. Start building assets, not just earning income. Start taking calculated risks instead of avoiding all risks. Start believing there's enough success for everyone, including you. Because here's what I know to be true. Your current situation is not your final destination. Your past doesn't determine your future. Your circumstances don't define your potential. The only thing standing between you and the wealth you desire is the decision to start thinking differently. And that decision is completely within your control. So what are you going to do with this information? Are you going to go back to thinking the same old way? Or are you going to start reprogramming your mind for wealth? The choice is yours. The time is now, and the potential is unlimited. Thanks for watching. Now go out there and start thinking like the wealthy. Your future self is counting on it.